I was a victim of that in a way too, because the way that I didn't follow the pattern is, well, quite a lot actually. So because I am not actually following the pattern, as I pretty much never do actually, as this video, you know, yes, follow the pattern. That's honestly going to be the best choice. But then I want to show off the stuff I've got done, right? So this is the Luminos Tee by Yamagara, and I had only just the very beginnings of the hem finish when we spoke last. So this is knit with Knit Pick Stroll, and it's both their like afternoon tea multi-pack, which is where I got the colors, and then I think it's called Flagstaff Heather for the gray that I used. I did some modifications, but back when I had just started this, when I filmed last, this was like the only piece that I had done, and I was working on the second one, so now they're attached. I've knit these chevrons. It's a very cool reversible tank, and I did a few extra things, like I did a double knit neckline with like some different colors, so that it wasn't just, you know, if at any point the neckline drooped, you would see more than just the backside of ripping, which is what the pattern called for. So pretty happy with the way that this turned out. You know, yes, follow the pattern. That's honestly going to be the best choice. But then it's knit bottom up, which in some ways I do like, but I know most knitters don't like bottom up, and the big reason why is because it makes it kind of limiting in terms of trying your garments on in progress. So and that's like, I was a victim of that in a way too, because had I tried this on with the shoulders in place, I would have wanted more room in my underarm than I have. I have decent sized arms, they're not very slim, and so just having that room for if I want to wear a long sleeve shirt underneath this or something like that, it is a little limiting in that way. But overall, I really like this shirt. I definitely want to make it again. I do think I'll knit this pattern again. I might skip these little diamond edges and just do the chevron shape for much longer on the body, because I have a few t-shirts I've cropped in that way that I really like, and so I'm like, what if I make a hand knit version of these t-shirts that are very flattering on me? So I hope you don't mind the location being outside again. It was too beautiful of a day not to film out here. So it is May 4th and it is 65 degrees outside, which here in the Texas area, especially near Houston, is just wild that it is so nice out. So I'm taking advantage. But anyway, this is the Luminos Tee. It is finished. So the next finished object that I have to show you is actually a pillow. This was on the hooks also when we filmed last and shared with you back in, what was it, December? So several months now, but it is now finished. I started with like my primary color as this blue on this side and the white sort of porridge color. I think it's called linen actually, but this was my secondary on this side, and then I swapped the colors for the other side, and I think actually this is the one I maybe did. No, I can't. No, I did this side first with the dominant blue color in the middle and the white on top, and then I did this one next. And the one, like the main difference between the two, besides like the color dominance A or B on these, is that I went down a needle size on, or a hook size on this. So this was crocheted at an H, this was crocheted at a G, and I would recommend, if you're using a size 4 or worsted weight yarn, this is just acrylic yarn from Hobby Lobby. It's really soft, hard wearing yarn, which is nice because this is on my couch and my toddler's jumping on it. But I just love like the way that the color works out, and the design is so intricate. So I'm really glad that this is done. I did not take any before photos of the pillow, but the cover was shredded. It was just in really rough shape. So I'm glad to have this on my couch instead of what I had before. My only complaints, there's two actually. The first one would be that the pillow is now stuck in here. Like I have to unravel the border if I want to do anything with this pillow cover or with the pillow inside. So that's like the one negative about this, and it's a choice that I made. I probably could have come up with a better way to like enclose the pillow, but this is what I chose, so this is what I've got. I don't really foresee a future that I'm going to need to separate the two, but just a note for those who may have that need and like this pattern. The other thing is that the way that this pillow is in here is a feather pillow, and I just noticed that the corners sometimes get collapsed, and like the pillow holds its shape because it's acrylic yarn and it's nice and stiff, but there's like, you know, the pillow filling, because its feather has like drooped down in on itself. So that would be another thing that's a little bit like wanted to show you guys this one finish. It is a Bluma square, and I will publish up here the name of the designer. Bjorn on Ravelry is the user's name. So anyway, I will post the name and everything that I talk about. Even if you're like, what is she saying? I don't understand her pronunciation. Everything's gonna be linked below, because my Ravelry, I try to keep that fairly updated. I'm not the most detailed on there, but I do include what I've been working on in there. So anyway, that is the Bluma square. We've talked about the Lumos. Let me show you some of the other items I finished in the last couple of months. So this one I hadn't even cast on, wasn't even really on my radar, and to be fair, this is not even really the pattern that I'm calling it, but that was kind of the numbers and stitch counts that I followed, so that's why I'm calling it that. But the way that I didn't follow the pattern is, well, quite a lot actually. So that pattern is a like wide shoulder boat neck type cozy classic light sweater. That's what that thing is called. So it's off the shoulder, it's a very wide open neck, it's knit in fingering weight, it's supposed to be like a breezy summery spring garment. I do think it's supposed to be somewhat sheer. This is not that. I followed the initial pattern directions for that, and I am holding a fingering weight double, so I've got a DK weight yarn, which is kind of why the variegation is a little more forgiving here, but not as much down here. But I got it done and realized I just was not a fan. I had most of the body done, the sleeves were done, but I was not loving how much the neck was being pulled open, because I had sized up to compensate for the fact that I'm using a thicker yarn and bigger needles and stuff. I just wanted like a quick knit. Living in Texas, it doesn't make sense to knit too often garments in worsted or Aran or whatever, and so I wanted the win of a heavier weight yarn without actually being willing to like follow a pattern for a heavier weight yarn. So that's on me, but I didn't like the way that the neck was looking, so I just went back, cut out the neck, and picked up stitches, decreased a little bit, did some short rows that I made up. It's all kinds of wild, and then did the collar. So this is really not the Cozy Classic Light, but it was loosely inspired by that with the numbers and ratios and stuff like that. So let me just put it on for you real quick, because it's actually a really awesome sweater, and like I said earlier, the weather is so great, so I'm taking advantage. Things I did, so this is just a regular twisted rib but neckline, and same thing with the collar here. It is loose. It's a relaxed fit. That's how I would describe this. It's a relaxed fit, and I'm so thrilled to have something to wear like as we approach the cool seasons this coming winter season, because one, it is incredibly soft and I love the feel of it next to my skin. Two, it is like having just a woolly hug, so I'm looking forward to wearing that. I wore my Lento that had only fingering weight yarn in it, no mohair, no nothing, a ton last year, or like this past, we'll call it 6 months, a ton. It has holes in it, the stitches are stretched out, like it is in rough shape. And so knowing how much wear I got out of that, I know that this is a heavier weight sweater, but I know that I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this when the weather turns cool. So super excited about this. It is very wild, the color pooling and what have you, because I was using 2 strands of fingering weight yarn to make this yarn. Sorry, the sun's come out, and my phone screen's cracked, so we're just gonna have this reflective bit. But anyway, so 2 strands of fingering weight yarn, and it is a variegated, like hand-dyed yarn. I kind of was able to manage some of the striping, but as you can see, not all of it. And like up here where I changed yarn and cut out the neckline and knit that thing twice, like it's a little crazy, but I'm okay with it. When I was knitting it, it was totally giving like Sugar Plum Fairy vibes. Like, I don't know how well you can see, but we've got like this beautiful purpley pink here, like a plum color, and then we've got this icy cool teal, like, I don't know, I just think of like spruce whenever I see that color, and then the white, just lovely. Okay, so I backed up out of the sunbeam, so it's not so bad. But yeah, this one was on the needles for about 2 months, but there was a lot of like knitting the neck twice and things like that that went on that really it shouldn't have taken as long as it did. But I am thrilled to have it, and let me just stand up and show you. The one thing that I did that was a little different than what the pattern, more than one thing, one big thing is that I did like a, what did I do here? I think I just knit ribbed and then folded it over on itself so that it's not just like a single layer ribbed hem. And I really like the way that that looks. These are like there's my hip bone right there, so it comes just to my hips, and I really like the way that it looks. So this is it. Yeah, let me show you some of the other things that I've got done too. First completed version of Beyond the Dunes by Hinterstein over on Ravelry, and she has stunning patterns, and my execution of this pattern is not nearly I learned a lot, let's just put it that way. So this, I think, is just such an elegant pattern. It's got such beautiful details. It's a saddle shoulder construction. You have this neat little like pearl, let's see, yeah, there we go, a pearl ridge going down the side here. The neckline is super smart and intentional. This side is actually probably the better side to show you. Like, you have this beautiful stair, like pearl stair column going right here, and I chose to make mine in 2 tones, so this teal, and then I would call this a salmon pink. Originally what had happened is I was going to make this shirt out of yakish, and it was sort of, the fit that I chose was inspired by a black and white striped shirt that I have in my closet. It's fast fashion, and it is starting to get actually quite a lot of holes in it at this point. There's a hummingbird. So I decided, okay, I want to make a hand knit version of it, and so I had this yakish, and I had like a gray and a cream color, and I was gonna knit, you know, a elevated version of that. Long story short, I got stuck, and while I got stuck, I thought, okay, this is a kind of more expensive yarn. I'm gonna charge forward, but I'm going to use some cheaper yarn that I have in stash that I don't really like intend to do anything with, as like making sure I'm doing the right thing, going in the right direction, and then I will go back to my yakish yarn and knit the entire garment with that. Well, that didn't happen. Instead, what happened is, I'm gonna stand up and talk about it and show you how it fits from over here. But so I've actually been wearing this, which is why it's all crinkled, but you can see it is, you know, just sitting right where my pants fall. Like there's the pants, there's the shirt, and you can probably see kind of on camera, I don't know, that there is a color change right here. And I actually even like changed yarn right here, which is a rookie move. Like, I know better. I even told my mom about it and she goes, well, you know how to fix that. I'm like, I know, and I'm not going to. And now I regret it. I was like, it'll block out, it'll be fine. No, it won't. It's bamboo rayon, it's not gonna block out. So, but I still love it. It has such neat design features. So you do like a twisted I-cord here on the hem, and then you do this really interesting shifting pearl and knit section. So like this is all done in pearl, and then you've got these knit ridges, I guess, down here at the bottom. So just a really close attention to detail, and my execution of it was definitely not faithful. But I learned a lot of stuff with this garment. The things I learned. So it's a cool construction because you knit the saddle and then you put a whole bunch of stitches. No, wait, what do you do? You start with a provisional cast on. You knit the saddle shoulder. You cast on more provisionally. You knit this shoulder. Then you're working short rows and building up the back, and then you're building up the front. And so one of the things I learned is like you can't just use, for this type of yarn especially because it has no stretch to it, knitting a provisional cast on with a chunky or even a DK weight yarn is a big no, which is why I have all these gaps right here at my neckline, and there's not really a whole lot I could do about it when I realized it was happening. But it's another reason why with that yakish yarn I'm like, well, maybe I need to just frog that and come up with something else, because already my foundation is got these big gapey stitches, which it looks okay on, and I'm sure that yakish yarn would be more forgiving with these holes, so I learned my lesson, and the next sleeve or portion that I had done, I did for the provisional cast on, I did with a lace weight yarn, and that went way smoother. So just take note that if you're doing provisional cast on, the thickness of the yarn that you're casting onto does matter, because it can make your stitches a little more stretched out, more elongated than you might want. So but learned a lot of new techniques in terms of the construction of this shirt, because I have never worked saddle shoulders before, and I will say I really love this shirt. It's definitely not faithful executed. You can see possibly midway through I have a different dye lot here because, again, I was working with yarn that was in my stash, and had to actually go purchase a ball of yarn to finish this up, which is rich because now that it's a garment, I'm fine with it. I love it. I'm happy. But working with this yarn, like, was not it. Is very splitty, not super stretchy, so I would not recommend bamboo from rayon, except for the fact that it feels really nice now that it is a garment. So that's a win. One last thing I want to show you guys, and I didn't execute this button correctly either, but this is cool and necessary also for the pattern, because if it didn't have a button, then you would be well, actually, so this is it unbuttoned, and if it had the button just like sewn shut, if you will, you wouldn't be able to get your head through the shirt, which would be a problem. Okay, so that's it buttoned up, which it does fit like a little closer to the neck that way, more like a traditional crew neck. Hopefully you can see, this is pretty cool. So yeah, this is the Beyond the Dunes by Hinterstein on Ravelry, and I 1000% recommend any of her patterns. They're beautiful. Her attention to detail, the finishes are just stunning, and I do think like a lot of her pieces look more structured than the traditional round construction garment. So whether that's a raglan, a round yoke, like a saddle sleeve, it doesn't matter. All of her stuff has a beautiful structure to it, beautiful drapes, so would recommend her. I don't think I've seen enough of her patterns being made here on YouTube, so go check her stuff out. Anyway, I think I've got some more, maybe one more finished object to show you. Last two finished objects, I had actually talked to you guys about Tilly the hare last time, and I don't think I had finished the dress. So now she has clothes, and she's not scandalously unrobed, which is great news. It's really fun to see my toddler go like this to her. So even though this was a major pain to make, I'm glad I have it, and hopefully future episodes I will have other additional outfits for her. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that she made an appearance in her cute little dress. And then this is an item that actually I had there was a big window there where I was not allowing myself to work on anything because I had to get this done. So I think I'm the only person who's actually ever posted a project on this pattern besides the designer. So this is our color palette version of this book. I contemplated adding a handle to the spine, and I still might, because oh my gosh, this thing is hefty. But the pattern does call for making the strap, and I'm glad I made that. So we go in, and I did modify some things from the pattern. Oh, all the puzzle pieces are on here, sideways and crazy, but we've got puzzle pieces that are velcroed. We've got a mix and match for when my daughter's older, she'll be able to practice her braiding and tying bows. So we've got a lot of string here to play with. We've also got a bunch of, so this is supposed to be a crane, and then all the little crane pieces I put in the robot. Now the pattern doesn't call for that, but I didn't want to make all the other pieces that the robot called for, so I just stuffed my little shapes into the robot pouch there, and she's got buttons to practice her buttoning skills. The arms move a little bit. We've got like a little heart that sticks here on the Velcro portion. She's still not mastered Velcro shockingly, but she's also only 1.5 years. So this is something that hopefully she'll grow with in terms of her interest in it. She's already had expressed interest in it and played with it some, but like I think this is one of those toys that evolve. So right now I actually have it put away because she's lost interest in it for the developmental stage that my daughter's at. So but we'll bring it back out in another few weeks and she'll be interested in it again in a new way. So they have like a little, I don't know, a monkey or a frog or something under their little submarine port. Mine is a bunny. So there's like a periscope with little moving thing here, and this part moves. So yeah, I just did different colors. So I do like the way that mine turned out a little more than what the designer did, but I think it's also completely like to each their own. But I think it's underrated in the sense that if you wanted to make something like this is a cool option. I do think if I were to tell my past self, like, okay, you can make this book, but maybe don't crochet the pages, like just crochet the things that go on the pages, because I could have just taken like a piece of that plastic mesh and just stitched through the mesh to make the pages themselves, and then sewn the crocheted items onto the mesh instead of having to crochet the pages front and back and then stuff it with the mesh and then sew it together. Like, it was a lot more work than it needed to be, and it could have gotten a very similar effect and maybe slightly less bulky than this. So this took forever, but I'm glad it's done. And that is all the finished objects for you. That is actually 3 things. So this is the LUCCA hat with a lot of modifications, and I am just gonna say I don't know that I would recommend this pattern to anybody. I feel like it's not written great, and the sizing is definitely odd, but part of that is on me. But I think the problem that I'm having the most from this project is actually from the yarn. So this is Rafa yarn, which is paper, and Emily from High Fiber Knits made a bag out of Rafa yarn a while back. And I wish that she had spent a little more time expressing the challenges of working with this yarn. Like, it is, I've given myself paper cuts with it. I have just rubbed my skin raw. It is difficult to manipulate because it is so stiff and you're working at a pretty tight gauge. It's not very forgiving in terms of needing to frog or any of that. So like one round yesterday took me probably an hour, and I'm a pretty fast crocheter. Like that's my first love. So this is growing very slowly. I'm actually right now, you can't tell because it's barely started, but this part that I just have been working on is actually the brim. Let me see if I can kind of show that. So yeah, it's supposed to be starting to fit like this. Now, the cool thing about this pattern is that it does call for like a lot of shaping and steaming to kind of like help you get the effect. I just don't think that my version is going to turn out like everybody else's on Ravelry. So we'll see. It was looking very promising, and then it was not looking promising, and now it is. And so like this one's a love-hate, and it is challenging to work on because of the physical strain involved and the slowness of the progress. But I'm hoping I can wear this to the beach this year, so I am motivated to get it done. It does look almost done. It is almost done. This is the second ball or spool, I guess, of yarn. I bought this yarn off of Amazon. It was very inexpensive. I could have bought other Rafa yarn from other places, which maybe would have been more friendly to work with. I'm not sure, but it was cheap yarn, so I'm glad for that, and I can't wait to have this done because I'm not enjoying working on it, and I really want the item. So with that rave review, let's talk about something way more fun, but also slightly challenging. The next project is my Cognac sweater vest. And there's lots of air quotes around this whole thing. So if you have heard of the Cognac, you maybe know that it is like the Lento, which is just another way of saying it is a joy to work on because you're working on a very open gauge with large needles, so it goes by pretty fast. This one has only been on the needles for like 2 weeks, maybe not even that long, a week and a half, and I have almost half of a sweater done. So the other nice thing about this pattern is that it doesn't call for a lot of yarn because of the open gauge. Mine will use even less yarn than what the design calls for because I'm not doing sleeves. So I'm going to, I think, come back and do like an I-cord edge here. I wanted a sleeveless vest, and I just really wanted to try this one. So I thought, okay, instead of buying a sleeveless vest pattern, let's buy a sweater pattern and just not do the arms. So that's my thought process on it. I hope it actually turns out right. But you might be looking at this and thinking, wow, that is kind of sheer. That does not look like any Cognac I've ever seen. And you would be right, because I am not actually following the pattern, as I pretty much never do, actually, as this video has proven. What I am doing is I am holding a fingering weight yarn as the pattern calls for, but I live in Texas, so I'm not buying mohair and making a sleeveless vest with mohair. Like that just, I mean, it could be cool, but it's not for today and it's not for now. So what I am doing instead, because I learned my lesson from my Lento, you need that second strand because your stitches won't be very stable, they won't be very secure, and because they're so large with no reinforcement because of the wool, they can easily get stretched out or torn or damaged and distorted. So you do need another yarn. I just happen to be using a linen yarn instead of a wool or a mohair. So this is my linen yarn. I am just working off of this cone. What I do typically is I'll like wind off a bunch into a little ball, knit that up, and then wind off some more. I found that that is probably like the best way to work with this product, because when you have this whole yarn cone, it's not very portable, and if you wind off too much, then it can get tangled really easily. So I would just say wind off what you need, work with it, and then wind off more. Linen is supposed to get softer as it is worn, so I'm looking forward to that. As it is, I gotta move again. The sun, y'all. yeah, working with the linen yarn is fine. It's nice. I can tell that the material that I'm making is a little more durable and reinforced than just the plain old single strand of fingering weight yarn. So if you live in a warmer climate and you want to make something that calls for mohair at this nice, lovely open gauge, but you don't want that mohair, you won't get that like fluffiness that you can see from using mohair, but you will get the reinforcement if you use something like a linen yarn. And that spool that I showed you guys originally was a kilo of yarn, I think, and so that has lasted me now for 2 projects. I foresee it making many, many more, or being at least a participant in many, many more projects. And because I'm holding that linen yarn with a wool, it is making the linen itself more enjoyable to work with. So I would just say that, like, if you are living in a warmer climate, you want to make some of these cute sweaters that have that extra strand, and it's needed because of the integrity of the fabric is lost without that extra strand, then consider maybe a linen. So anyway, soapbox over. Let's talk about my last work in progress right now. And this is the one that is like, oh, so close, I could almost taste it. But without further ado, it is the, oh great, what's the name of this one? The Marigold? The Marigold, or maybe it's the Magnolia. I think it's the Marigold shirt. Marigold Tee. That's what this is gonna be. It's gonna be a tee. And it is in a kind of an odd spot, so I'm not gonna try it on for you guys, but this is by Winter Knits, I believe. Her sample is done in this beautiful like cream and green color, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I want more red garments in my wardrobe, and when I saw that one, I was like, red and black, definitely doing that in red and black. So here we are, almost done. I'll also put in maybe some photos of me trying it on before the blocking and seaming had been done. I'm still in the process of seaming it all, but this is done in a really unique way, and it's actually probably good that I'm at this stage here so you can see. So here we've got like one arm seamed up, but the way that this pattern works is, hopefully I can show you. So you start here with an Italian cast on, and then, no, where is it? Here with the Italian cast on, and you make your sleeve, and as you're knitting your sleeve, you're just going back and forth this way, and then you cast on a whole bunch of stitches for the body, and then you're working this section after the sleeve, which is the body, and this is miles, it feels like, just working flat, knit back and forth, knit back and forth. This part felt like it took forever. And then you split for the neck, and then you're knitting just a portion here with a shorter, pulled off my try-it-on tubing. Didn't I do this last time? Anyway, you knit this portion, and then you knit the back portion the same way, and then you Kitchener it together with the other half that you've already made. So I think I had just started on this and maybe didn't even really show you guys last time, but I've now knit left and right. I've Kitchenered the back, I've seamed one side, and I have to seam the second side and Kitchener up the middle, do the collar, and then it's finished. I'm not gonna hold it up anymore just because I've got some loose stitches here, and that's on me. This is because I was blocking it and needed all the try-it-on tubing untied so I didn't carry water with me. But yeah, this is nearly done. I can't wait to actually wear it. It is fitting a little tighter in the arms than I expected, so just keep that in mind. You may need to size up if you follow this pattern. And then like there's gonna be a lot of ends to weave in. I'm hoping when this is all assembled and done, I'll have a clearer idea of how much weaving, where best to hide the ends. But yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm not too concerned about that portion that I lost stitches for, because one, this red yarn is a linen cotton, so it's not gonna get away from me quite as fast as like a silk might. And two, I've already knit that portion like 4 times, so who cares if it's 5 times now. But yeah, so really excited to have this done. I'm in the home stretch and just reminding myself, like, just finish it. You've been dreaming about this top since the spring, no, since autumn, so go ahead and just get it done. Don't avoid those parts that you don't want to do, like Kitchener, and get into wearing it already and enjoying the thing that you've worked so hard on. So on that note, I am going to say that is all for me, but if you need a reminder to eat the frog, to do something you don't want to do, to learn that technique so that you can now have your finished object, like, just do it. I mean, that's what this one's all about, right? Like, it's reversed, so you may not be able to actually tell, but it says do it scared. So if you're scared of trying a new technique, do it anyway. Once you do it enough, you'll get good at it, and then you won't be scared of it anymore. So hope you guys are doing well, making awesome stuff, and hopefully I'll have lots more cool stuff to show you next time we chat.